What up, guys? Happy 2018. So, took a little hiatus, if you will, at the end of the year. I say hiatus, like, it's the holidays. We didn't post a video up during the holidays because there's not as many tournaments to take place at the holidays to talk about decks. We did talk about the human list that is running around. There's updated versions of it. The previous one that we were talking about was the one that did take first place at the Open, or was it the Classic? I can't remember now. But now they've since shaved off of Mayor and added in, a really sweet addition as the phantasmal image that you can copy one of your creatures, or any creature. You can do some fun stuff with that. So, I'll post up more updated stuff about that in the future because it's 2018. Time to talk about new decks. And hey, it's the House of Cats, so of course there's going to be a cat here. I figured we just had an Open for Modern, SCG Open. Why not talk about kind of how the meta might start shaping up at the beginning of 2018 with the first place deck, second place deck, exact same, very close to the same 75, only slight variance in the lands, and we'll talk about that in a bit. We're also going to highlight a little bit of some of the other styles you can go. We did talk about Control previously. Hi, Eddie. We did talk about Control previously in 2017, but the lists that are now running around, that one that took first and stuff, is different. Slightly different. Some new stuff has been added into some of the people's lists, so definitely something to consider if you're going to be playing at bigger events. You have to be prepared to deal with this sort of deck. So if this is your first time viewing the Modern Meta Breakdown, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Here we sit down and talk about the deck, what makes the deck work, how you might be able to beat it, things like that, and just kind of get a good idea of what the meta is overall. Now, it does shift and change, especially in particular areas of the US and in Europe and things like that. There might be very more narrowed views and metas, but this is at least an idea that, hey, if I'm going to go to a larger Modern event, I should expect to see this sort of deck. And that's a lot of what this is kind of educate people and get an idea of what to expect when you're going to be playing Modern. So let's jump into it, get started with our first deck. That's right, we're back on the Control train, guys. Jeskai Control. Slight variance from some of the previous builds. A lot of people have been talking about different ways to be building the Control list, and this is kind of what people have decided. Well, some people have decided. Again, Benjamin here got first place with it, so seemed to be working out really well for him. I have played him previously at SCG events, and he does know a thing or two about Control and plays very well. So it was good on him to be able to get that win there. So we do have, of course, only 4 creatures, running 3 Snapcasters. So a lot of people are like, what? Not a playset? Well, you have a bigger Snapcaster in a way. Kind of a threat that you can kill people with, too. So we'll talk about that. Makes sense if you're going to be running a Control shell, you have to have Snapcaster in the list. So that is kind of our first highlight there. Pretty sweet to kind of add in to the list. Now, the spells, there's 31 spells. I'm going to wait a little bit before I talk about the other creature because, I want to take the time and talk about the spells. There are, like, our control spells that we've got. We've got our removal/burn spells. And then we've got kind of the life gain draw spells, if you will. It's kind of if you had to categorize it in, like, 3 categories almost. And there's some that sort of don't really fit in, like Secure the Waste doesn't really fit into either of those categories. But a nice addition in there. You have seen Secure the Waste in blue-white lists previously, but it's not often that you see this brought in for a Jeskai list. But it's a really good one to bring in because, it is instant speed, and on your opponent's turn, you're going to be doing stuff, right? If you're sitting here and you're like, all right, I'll hold up my counter magic, I'll wait. Okay, you're not doing anything. I've killed your stuff with lightning bolts, with helixes, whatever. You know what? I've built up some mana. We've done this land go thing for a little bit. I've countered your stuff. You haven't really managed to make something happen. I'll just tap out, and now I've got 6 guys. Or, now I'm up to 7, 8 guys, if the game's gone on really long. Or even if it's just like, here's 4, right? On turn 5, we haven't really done much. or I just need some extra blockers here to stay alive and try to draw into something, we'll just do Secure the Waste. So it's a nice addition. Also can add a little bit of an extra clock on there. So that's kind of doesn't really fit into that draw, life gain, counter spell, removal package. So did want to highlight that as a new addition to what control decks are going to be running. And, you know, if you're playing against blue-white, you can expect it. But now it might be something to start looking out for against the Jeskai list. So let's talk about card advantage here, right? There are ways to gain card advantage with this sort of list. So Serum Visions makes sense. No ops in this list, not necessary for the style we're playing. We can be fine with drawing a card and setting up at least our next 2 draws. All right, Serum Vision works out great, and I love the art that they picked for this one. A+, good job. Phyrexian Perfection, guys. So play set of Serum Visions in here, help us draw some stuff, help us set up our next couple steps to kind of plan ahead. And that's kind of where Serum pays off, is you get to plan ahead a little bit more. So makes sense for our draw spell. We've got our Search for Azcanta here. You know, that's a great one. Oop, unless I nope, Search for Azcanta. There we go. One of these buttons is the right one. So Search for Azcanta. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get to look at the top card of your library. You can put that card into your graveyard. Then, if you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you can transform it. Now, it's very easy to get 7 cards if you've got a lot of fetches, if you're drawing spells off Serum, if you're countering stuff, you're throwing lightning bolts, you're doing things like that. So when it flips, you can also, of course, filter your draws, right? That's the big thing. Do I want this? Do I want to draw this or not? If not, I'll throw it in my graveyard and draw something new. So if you're getting flooded or something, you're like, yeah, no, I don't need those lands. But it flips into a really sweet land. Azcanta the Sunken Ruin taps for a blue as well. So that is a nice benefit to it, is that you can always at least get blue mana once it flips. Turns into a land. Maybe you're hurting on lands and you're like, well, I could really use an extra land. This can turn into a land for you. But you pay 3, you look at the top 4 cards of your library, you can reveal a non-creature, non-land card, which means that pretty much hits majority of your deck. You have 31 things that you can be able to, well, 32 because you can hit your Planeswalker. 32 targets available to this, right? That means 28 targets you cannot find. So the likelihood that in 4 cards you will not find at least one of those 32 cards is pretty slim, but you know, it's definitely worth it. Again, something you can do on your opponent's turn instead of this pass go, all right, I'll do nothing. You now have an option to do something, right? You can also, later on, you have a lot of mana, you can dig for that counter spell. You can dig for that removal spell with this. So after you find the card, you reveal whatever that card is that you've gotten, and then that goes to your hand. The rest go on the bottom in any order. So really good addition. Some people have been trying it. I have been using it in blue-white control. I love it in that list. So I like that it's being thrown into other lists. I mean, it costs 1 in a blue. It's not hard to be able to cast, right? So we do have Search for Azcanta in here as kind of a card draw, card filter thing. The other one, we've got Sphinx's Revelation here. Of course, that was from Return to Ravnica, error, if you will. Just another one of those, like Secure the Waste. I'm going to do this on your end step. I'm going to draw a bunch of cards, gain some life. Now, you do have to pay at least 3 mana to cast it before you draw any cards or gain any life. So it is an X cost. So it is going to be like, hey, maybe if I'm sitting at 7 mana, I'll be in a pretty good spot to gain 4 life, right? Draw 4 cards. Also kind of replenish my hand a little bit. It's just a really nice keep yourself in the game. The life gain matters, actually. So that is a really nice way to kind of keep yourself going, replenish your hand there. So we've got that. Let's talk removal, right? There's the removal spells in here. 2 Supreme Verdict main board. There's been some variance on how you want to run the amount of Supreme Verdicts that you're going to run, that sort of thing. So, you know, if it is heavily creature favored metas, things like that, that's really nice. Guess what? Merfolk is starting to pop up again. Some sort of that blue-green style. Having some board wipes in there works out really nicely. So Supreme Verdict is really good. Targeted removal. Guess what? Path to Exile. If Brett was here, he'd rant and rave about how great it is. But it is a really good card. You know, all joking aside. 1 white, exile target creature. Its controller searches his library for a basic land card. Put it on the battlefield tapped, but you just get rid of a creature. That Death Shadow, bye. Oh, you're sitting there with that Primeval Titan, bye. don't have to worry about it, right? So say goodbye to that guy. We've also got our burn spells, and he's running 3 and 3 for this. 3 bolts, 3 helix. We've also got 2 electrolytes we'll talk about in a second, because that's kind of our draw burn package there. But helix is another one that also does for life gain, and one of the big reasons if you're going to be running Jeskai over blue-white is, hey, I want access to the helix, right? I want access to Path to Exile. I want access to the Sphinx's Revelation, Secure the Waste, those extra white cards instead of, running just blue-white, just red-blue, like the Blue Moon styles. You get access to these other stuff. I've also got, Lies is in here too. Bolts, Helix, makes sense. 3 damage, gain 3 life. 3 damage, target creature or player for 1 red. Electrolyze is that 2 damage divided as you choose. If it's creature, players, 2 creatures, whatever, you get to decide. There's that whole interaction with Spellskite, which we don't have to get into now. That whole redirection thing. But if you guys have questions and don't understand how Electrolyze works with Spellskite, leave a comment and I'll be able to answer that for you. So that is, of course, another draw spell too. 3 mana, I can do 2 damage and draw a card. It's alright, the 2 damage isn't usually going to kill something unless maybe you're in that control mirror or something like that. Maybe you're playing against some mana dorks, some birds, things like that, and then it's great. Elves, you're like, yeah, sure, I'll start shooting down your elves. So that's pretty nice, and the draw spell is really what helps with that. Then, of course, counter magic, right? Cryptic Command is the big one everybody knows. Hey, I got to do all the things, right? I got to choose 2 things. I can counter your spell. I can return a permanent to your hand. I can tap all the creatures you've got to just buy me some time. And I can just draw a card. Seems good, right? Everybody likes that. Cryptic Command, great spell. Like the 4 of in here. Works out really well. Now, it is 3 blue. A little factor in there. Not going to be too much of an issue with this list, but in case you're trying to splash it into other lists, just keep that in mind. Negate is in here. I like the idea of running a negate main board. It seems like a nice addition to try to go for. If you're expecting a lot of non-creature spells, maybe you're expecting to play more Tron or something like that, or you're expecting to face a lot more control. Having that main board helps you win that game 1, right? It's just that little edge up there. So nice little addition in there for the negate. The other big one. Actually, so we'll do Spell Snare next, right? Spell Snare. Counter target spell to convert a mana cost 2. Alright, there's a lot of stuff that costs 2. We were just seeing Helix cost 2, Negate cost 2, right? A lot of creatures cost 2, so that is a really nice addition to it. But the big one that you're going to see in a lot of control lists now. Doesn't matter what sort of control this is being run. And a couple years ago, this was not seeing play at all, which is kind of crazy to think about. But Logic Knot is now in here. And there's 3 in this list. Okay? So that kind of shows you the power of Logic Knot. Especially when you're filling up your graveyard to flip your Azcanta. When you're sitting here and you don't have any delve stuff, so other than not Logic Knot, like you're not running Tassiger, you're not running Gurmag Angler, so you don't care so much about like your graveyard other than those select instants and sorceries that you're going to be using to Snapcaster back. So that is like a, hey, I'll keep these specific burn spells, this specific, counter spell, but for the most part, I can just delve this away and make sure I counter one of your spells, right? Counter it unless they pay X, and X can be whatever you delve away. So you can say, here's my 2 blue, and I'll just get rid of all these fetch lands that are sitting in my graveyard doing nothing, right? Here's all these fetch lands and all these Seer Visions I've got. Or, oh, I don't need this Secure the Waste anymore in my graveyard, so I'll get rid of that. Like, you can do all kinds of things like that. So this is a thing, too. If you're going to be playing against control, looking about building control, pick up your Logic Knots. They're pretty cheap right now, like $1, $2 or so. But, that's because nobody played them for a while, so there's a lot of them out there. Plus, it got reprinted, as you can see, in Modern Masters, so there should be a lot more running around. So keep that in mind as you're kind of on the hunt. There's our kind of control package. Now, Nahiri is in here now, right? So we've got Nahiri. She's going to be hanging out. some of the previous Jeskai lists have been more combo oriented, and they'll run like a playset of Nahiri or 3 Nahiri, and they'll Emrakul as they're like, once I get to 8, I'm gonna ultimate her immediately and go get Emrakul and just try to kill you. I'm all in on that plan. Try to get to a Nahiri using counter magic, using burn spells, resolve a Nahiri, try to keep her alive with this counter magic and burn spells to be able to do this. Nahiri is in here as, hey, I get card advantage, I can destroy some of your stuff, and not just destroy it, I exile it for a -2, and let's just say this kind of hangs out, right? Seems pretty good, right? If I sit there and -8, search my library for an artifact or creature card, put that onto the battlefield, then I shuffle it, of course, it gains haste, so I can attack with it. Sweet. But at the end step, I return that to my hand. You know what works really well with this? ETB effects. So this Gear Hulk here, that I could just keep in my deck, you know, no problem. Ultimate out Nahiri. Get this Gear Hulk. He's a 5/6. When it enters, I get to cast an instant card from my graveyard without paying its mana cost. Just flat out. Yep, this is now mine. I'm going to cast that. Right? No problem. Now, it does get exiled. Right? It is like Snapcaster. You're flashing it back almost from the graveyard. It just costs 0. But the fact that it works so well with Nahiri is that you get to return that to your hand. So you say, here's my enter the battlefield effect. Nahiri's going to come, get this Gear Hulk. Gear Hulk's going to come out. I'm going to get this great instant speed. Maybe it's even just like, oh, my opponent's going to try to kill me this turn. I need a blocker. I need some extra life. I'm going to just get this Helix back, right? Oh, Addie's dying. Poor Addie. It's all good now. Oh my gosh, made me all worried. So you can get the Helix, you can get a path. Like, there's so many options that you can be able to get to kind of help you out. And then it goes back to your hand, so you can be able to recast that Gear Hulk later on. So I really like that idea of doing the Nahiri as just kind of a control thing and not all in combo style. Land base, again, it was very close to the second place. I think Jim Davis was our second place player. Kevin Jones, that's who it was, Jim Davis. Mixing players up. But yeah, like, really just Colonnade, there's 3 of, that's an extra win con in here. Makes a lot of sense. Glacial Fortress is a new addition that some players are starting to run in the Jeskai. You know, just that kind of buddy land you're going to run in here. Sweet. The likelihood that you're going to have a Plains or an Island is pretty high, so shouldn't be too worried about getting that entered untapped. And it's less life that you're going to have to take off of shocks, right? So we've got 2 Hollowed Fountains. We've got 2 Steam Vents. And that's it, right? Sulphur Falls is in here. Spiral Bluff Canal is in here. Oh, I missed the Sacred Foundry. Sorry, guys. So 5 shock lands. That's it. But, you know, of course, you've got your fetch lands, right? Scalding Tarn and the Fledged Strands. But you've got more basics. Plus, this helps you against those Blue Moon decks that are running around. If you run into that in this control mirror, hey, you at least have 3 islands in there. And that is very important. If you're going to be running a blue deck and not running Blue Moon, you need at least 3 islands so you can cast your cryptic commands. There you go. Tips and tricks of the day. Sideboard stuff, as you might expect. Engineer Explosives in here, Detention Sphere, Ruined Halo, Celestial Purge, right? Dispel, Negate, Wear and Tear, Click, Sun's Champions in here, and then an extra Supreme Verdict. A lot of this might make sense to you based on what the meta is like. Ruined Halo, they can't play spells. You have protection from Chosen Name kind of thing. That whole thing. Well, you don't have. They can cast it. That's the other one. But you have protection from it. So you could say Death Shadow. I'm not going to take any damage from Death Shadow. You're going to have to kill me another way, right? You could say Valakut. Sorry, Molten Pinnacle. Not going to be taking any damage from that. Have fun. The rest of it's like removal. You've got some extra counter spells in here based on how you want to do things, but like really against like combo, there's a lot of versatility with the sideboard and how you're going to be going about it. So what's nice too against this is like a popular deck out there like Storm has a really hard time getting through your counter spells because nothing that they're going to want to try to do is going to stick. Like, well, I'm going to cast his gifts. No, you're not going to cast his gifts. Sorry, you're not going to do that. Well, I'm going to try to play this, but no, you're not. Oh, you're going to try to keep that creature? No, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to have fun. I'm going to be the fun police right now and shut down what you're doing. So that's, if you want to try this route. Real quickly, do want to highlight another Jeskai list. Is it this one? Yes. I'm going to leave these images up on the screen because these four guys, well, these four pictures, kind of three if you think about the three cards, are not seen in this list. And this is kind of more of what we've been talking about for Control lately, leading up to this. A lot of people have been like, hey, this is the way to build Control right now. Snapcaster, Spell Queller, Geist, that's where it's at, guys. Everyone should be running this if you're going to be running it. And now we've got to see, Kevin and Benjamin there as our two saying, no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to rely on that. Now, I have done this route before. I like Spell Queller a lot. I like Geist a lot. I don't like Geist main board. It does not feel right for me. So I don't like that play. But some people are trying it and they're liking it. So that is the thing. You are on more creatures. You're at 11 this time instead of the 5. So 4 Snapcasters, 4 Spell Quellers. Spell Queller is really nice because you exiles a spell that costs 4 or less. And there's a lot of things that are running around in Modern that just get shut down by that, right? So that is really, really cool that you're going to be able to do that. And it's got flash, so you can, flash it in on your opponent's turn and, be able to attack with it next turn, things like that. Geist is also a nice 3-drop threat that you have there that, hey, this is going to be dealing 6 damage to you. Unless you block it, then it's at least 4, and you can get a clock going that way. Did want to highlight that, again, 4 Cryptic, 2 Electrolyze, 4 Bolt, 3 Helix. Logic Knot, guys, I'm telling you, it's a thing if you're going to be playing against Control Magic. 4 Path, 2 Spell Snares, 4 Serum Visions. The Search for Azkantas are sitting on the board. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think they need to be played in the main board if you're going to be trying that. But because he's got the Geist and stuff main board, you don't have to worry. You're like, I'm being less control-y. I'm more of a tempo style control list, right? I'm going to be playing these guys. I'm going to have burn spells. That's more of what I'm going to be doing. Also has access to like Piankira in the sideboard. Does have some more removal like the Supremes, Wear and Tear, Negate, Dispels in here. This is an interesting one. Stainful Stroke. You got tired of playing against, any sort of Tron-based strategy. We're going to just put a stop to that. Celestial Purge is out there because you get to sit there and say, no, I'm not going to deal with you, Death Shadow, Detention Sphere, and Engineered Explosive. So overall, there's a couple ways that you can be building Control right now, right? But there's no right way. That's what's so great about Modern. You can do whatever you want for it and still have fun. And there's so many lists coming. Like, we saw a very diverse top 8, a very diverse top 16. There's a lot of options out there. So just be aware that if you are going to be playing against Jeskai Control, it could be one of those 2 options. There is even other lists out there that it could be too. Like a hybrid of both. You don't know where this Jeskai lists are going to be going from here. But I just wanted to highlight at least the start of 2018. First place, Benjamin was able to get it with this sort of Torrential Gear Hulk Nahiri style. And second place with more or less the same 75. The sideboard, the spells, the creatures, the planeswalkers are exactly the same. Number of lands the same. Just slight variance. 1 basic mountain is in there for Kevin Jones' list. Things like that. The Spire Bluff Canal is in there for Benjamin. Just slight things. But really, be prepared. Logic Knot's a thing. Search for Azkanta is going to be staying in Modern. It's going to be a thing. So, if you guys enjoyed this video, please, please, please hit the follow, subscribes, all that kind of good stuff. Make sure you're checking out Modern Magic Mondays. Going to be live every Monday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. The Invitational is coming up soon for you guys to be able to enjoy some very exciting action. It's extra content that we're going to be putting out with interviews, things like that with the players. So, keep your eyes peeled for that. all sorts of other fun stuff coming up Magic related on this channel. We've been doing some Vintage Cube uploads. There's at least going to be another set of videos where I draft up something different. So keep your eyes peeled for that sort of stuff. And we're going to keep posting more meta breakdown videos for 2018 as more decks keep getting discussed. Like there's a sweet Mono Green Devotion one that might be discussed soon. So that's going to do it for us here tonight, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next game.